Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie, and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Okay, so today we have a theme, and it's relationship problems. Okay, so tune in, get your drink. I don't have one right now, but you guys should. I'm actually starving. I should really be eating something right now, but I'll get to that after I film this episode. Okay. The first title of the first story is Am I the asshole for refusing to wear colored contacts for my wedding because my fiance's family thinks my natural eye color is too intense? So, I, 28 female, have naturally very light gray blue eyes. It's something people have commented on my whole life. Some say they look striking, Others say they're a little unnerving. I never thought much of it until I got engaged to my fiance, 30 male. His family is very traditional, and recently his mom pulled me aside and kindly suggested that I wear colored contacts on my wedding day because my icy eyes just might look too intense in the photos, and soft brown would be more elegant. I laughed it off, thinking that it was just a weird joke, but then my fiance brought it up too, saying his family thinks it would look better if I went with a more warm and inviting look for our wedding day. I told him absolutely not. This is my natural eye color, and I'm not going to alter my appearance just to please his family. He said it's not a big deal and that he doesn't personally care, but he thinks I should do it just to keep the peace. Now his family is acting like I'm being difficult over something small, and my fiance is frustrated that I'm turning this into an argument. But to me, it is a big deal. Why should I have to change something about myself just because they don't like it? Am I the asshole for refusing? Here's another one. Here's another one that is just so obvious to me. Like, no, you're not an asshole for not wanting to change your eye color for some people. Like, what the fuck is literally happening? The fact that people even just ask these types of questions to me is insane. Like, no. And also, I don't really know what needs to be done here other than the fact that this family, I would literally not want to talk to them ever again. But then again, it's like, okay, but if your fiance is going to need to understand how actually maniacal that is to suggest something like that. And the fact that he isn't like overreacting and being like, what the hell? Why would my family say that? And yelling at his family is really unnerving to me. That's what's unnerving, is the fact that he's acting like this is normal behavior, because who the hell, why the hell, and when the hell would that ever be appropriate to suggest to someone, especially on their wedding day? Like, I mean, in general, in any sense, in any situation, in any, literally just never do that. Like, in no way would that ever make sense to suggest someone literally wear colored contacts. Like, I don't understand where you get off thinking that that's a normal thing to do. So, whew, I just am so confused. Okay, let's read some comments. Not the asshole. I've had contacts for over 30 years. I need them to see. Regardless of the color or lack thereof, I've spent over 20 years dreaming about the day I can get laser eye surgery. I would not wear them if I didn't need them. I would never wear them by choice just to change my eye color. It takes practice and getting used to. You have to be fitted, and not everyone can handle the way that they feel. All that said, I would take it as a personal insult that my eyes weren't pretty enough when the wedding isn't about her at all. You should stand your ground here. Tell the fiance that if it's not a big deal, then why should he refuse to back you? You know, like the woman he is supposed to pledge undying faithfulness to instead of backing his mom. If he doesn't back you on this and push back, be prepared for this to be your life forever, raising kids where you live. If she plans on moving in to be taken care of when she can't take care of herself, and then someone said, also, there are pictures she will probably look at and have for the rest of her life. Why would you want to look not like yourself for that? It'd be different if OP wanted to do it, but she doesn't. Exactly. Like, you're going to literally. Also, I feel like the change from light eyes to dark eyes makes a huge, huge difference. I would feel so crazy if I had like super dark brown eyes. I mean, I wouldn't feel crazy. Like, I love brown eyes. Honestly, my boyfriend has really pretty brown eyes, and they're just like very inviting and nice. I do agree with that sentiment that like brown eyes are very inviting and they just look kind. And I love brown eyes, but like if I put brown contacts in, and maybe my eyes look brown to you guys right now, but they're not. They're like light hazel, and like I personally think that they're light, and I've been told a lot that they look very light. They're very light eyes, but sometimes people be like, "You have like light brown eyes," and I'm like, "Light brown, girl? Where?" Because I feel like I have green eyes, but I feel like they're probably hazel. Anyways, I would just feel so crazy. Like I know I would look so different and so crazy, and I don't want to look like not myself unless I like really always wore brown contacts and I just liked myself better that way and I wanted to wear them, but not if someone else is going to force me to wear them because what? That just makes no sense. It really doesn't. Blah blah blah. Not the asshole. Your eye color is a natural and beautiful part of who you are, and it's unreasonable for anyone, fiance's family included, to ask you to change it for their own aesthetic preferences. Weddings are about celebrating the union of two people, not about catering to arbitrary demands from family members. Their fixation on your eye color being too intense is frankly absurd and feels like they're trying to control an aspect of your appearance for no valid reason. Your fiance suggesting you do it to keep the peace is concerning because it shifts the burden onto you to appease his family, rather than addressing their unreasonable behavior. Stand your ground. Your wedding should reflect who you are, not what someone else thinks you should be. If this is the hill they want to make a big deal about, that's on them and not you. What do you even do about that? Some of these situations are like so hard because it's like if someone if your fiance, the person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, is thinking this way and is just like thinking this is normal behavior from like from family members, that's just so deeply concerning to me. And yeah, at like face value it doesn't seem like that big of a deal in like the bigger picture, but I feel like it is. It's like that is just if you really I feel like look at it and examine it, just the whole situation as a whole, that is just going to lead to deeper and deeper problems. Like I can't imagine what's going to happen in the next whatever 70 years of your life. Like what insane things are they going to request from you, or how are they going to act like insane because clearly they think it's a normal thing to ask. So I don't know, it's hard because what do you do when that happens other than just like say F you, I'm not getting married to you? I don't know. He needs to get an outside perspective so that someone can tell him how absolutely maniacal his family is. But anyways, we are going to move on to the next story, and this story has a couple updates. So the title is I, 43 male, found a used condom in the bin that my wife, 43 female, and I have in our bedroom. We have not used one in the last decade, and I have no idea what I should do now. So, I was taking a nap yesterday in the bedroom when I heard my daughter quietly walking in and asking me if I can give her some money so she can go out with some of her friends. So I do, and on her way out, I still don't know how she managed to do it, but she kicked the small bin that my wife and I have in the bedroom. We used to mostly throw away small things that we are too lazy to get up and go to the trash. I was rather annoyed at getting my sleep disturbed, so I told my daughter to leave it and that I will pick it up. She walks out of the room and I carry on with my sleep. I wake up a few hours later and I notice that the bin is kicked over and that some of its contents spilt out. I start cleaning up when I notice something peculiar. In the pile of papers and napkins, I found a condom. A used one. My wife and I don't use these. I'm pretty sure I've never used one since I had a vasectomy after our daughter was born. So the question is, how did this one end up here? There's the obvious answer, but I don't know. I keep thinking of different scenarios, but the thought that my wife may have been unfaithful is the first thing that pops into my head, and it's killing me. Maybe I'm just paranoid and there's another explanation, but I don't know how to approach this with her. What should I do about this? How do I start this conversation? I could use some serious help over here. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I mean, I think the most obvious situation is that she's cheating on you. The fact that she's doing it in your bedroom is a little insane and diabolical. And the other option is that it could be your daughter, but I just highly doubt that she would do it in your guys' room and then also throw it in that trash. Like, I feel like, especially if you don't, which typically you don't really want your parents to know, especially when you're a 16-year-old, you don't want them to know that you're sexually active or doing things with boys or hooking up with boys. So I feel like you would go out of your way to make sure you got rid of that. So, like, they aren't finding the remnants of that. So I just can't really convince myself that that would be what's happening here. But we're going to read the update. I found a used condom in the bin that my wife and I have in our bedroom. We have not used one in the last decade, and I have no idea what I should do now. Update. I posted earlier this week about my issue, and I honestly had no idea it would blow up this much. Something like 500 plus comments on it and 1,400 upvotes. So thanks for that. Also, I expect that not a lot of people that read this post would remember my previous one. I can't update it properly since it says on the sidebar that you can't update locked or removed posts, so I have to post this as a separate submission. If you want to read some of the comments on the previous one, go to my account history and you can find it. The best way I can describe what happened for those that are unfamiliar with the story is that I found a used condom in my bedroom trash can. My wife and I don't use one ever since I had a vasectomy done like 10 years ago, so it didn't come from me. I will admit that the first thing that popped into my head was that infidelity was involved, but like many of the people have commented on my previous post said, it could have also just as easily come from my 16-year-old daughter. That she is a teen, they're notorious for doing dumb shit. Like hooking up with someone in your parents' bedroom and tossing the condom away in their trash can. It didn't sound plausible at first, mainly because I guess I am not ready to see my little girl in this light, being sexually active and all of that, even though I expect her to be. But after some time passed and I had some time to sit and think, it really would have made more sense for her to do something like this than my wife. I spent the entire next day with my wife. I posted on Tuesday, so this is happening on Wednesday. I had a completely crappy day and my mood was pretty sour, and my wonderful wife picked up on that and she literally spent the entire day trying to cheer me up. She took me out for lunch at my favorite place, even though she's not really a fan of this restaurant. We played tennis together, even though she doesn't like this sport. She even helped me out with a hobby of mine that I love, and while she doesn't partake in it, she never voiced any disapproval of it. In fact, she encourages it. It's those small things that she does that make me feel appreciated. They are a reminder to me that my wife really loves and cares about me. That day, I realized how much of an effing idiot I am for even thinking that she is capable of hurting me or our family. I felt like an asshole for even considering the idea, so I told her. I told her everything. I told her about the condom and how I found it, the mixture of shock and surprise in her eyes when I told her that I found a used one in the trash can were genuine, and that was enough for me to know that she had nothing to do with it. So I told her that I'm thinking that it came from Kara, our daughter. We were going back and forth when we heard our son coming into the room and saying, I'm sorry. I should point out that the son in question is my middle child. I have an older son that's 25, this one is 22, and my daughter is 16. My wife and I looked at Simon and asked him what he means. My son then went on to explain the story. About a month ago, my son, his brother, and his brother's wife were at home while I was on a business trip, and my wife and Kara were visiting her parents. So one evening, Simon, his brother, and his sister in law went out for dinner, and after that decided to go to a club. My oldest son and his wife took off earlier than Simon and came back home while Simon stayed for a little longer. He eventually came home, but he wasn't alone. He picked up a girl at the club and brought her home with him. My son explained that since the bed in his room is single and our guest bedroom was already occupied by his brother and sister in law, he found the next best thing, our bedroom. He did the deed there and tossed the condom away in the trash can. In the morning, he changed the sheets, but he forgot to empty the trash can, and it still remained in there. I was really surprised at this, and so was my wife. I honestly expected to have this conversation with my teen daughter and not with my adult son. My wife said something similar to him, that we should expect something as stupid as this from his sister and not from him. But in the end, we hashed things out, and I'm glad we found the culprit. So my post's finished here. I want to say thank you to everyone that commented and got involved in my previous post. Your words really did help me, and I'm very grateful for your help. You talked me through an honestly baffling experience and pushed me in the right direction. I started off with the wrong idea, but in the end, you were right. It was indeed one of my kids. Not the one we expected, but still. Thanks for everything, guys, and have a great day and night. Take care. See, this is why it's hard to, like, say your opinion, because I didn't know that he had other kids, and I didn't know that they recently stayed the night at his house. Like, if I would have known that, I would have been like, okay, well, there's multiple culprits here. There's multiple possible culprits here. And that would make me think differently. But, like, thinking that it was the 16-year-old just made me think, like, there's no way. And then I just feel like the only option after that was the mom. But hearing this, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Okay. So some of the comments are saying, dude really buried the lead here. No mention of any other children in the first half of that story. Exactly. Exactly my point. Thank you. And then someone responded, right? The initial post was just talking about how his daughter couldn't have done it because she's home or at school and only knows girls. Suddenly, by the way, I've got 2 older sons. It's like reading a mystery novel just to have the killer be someone that's never been mentioned once. So real. So real. Sorry to interrupt, but if you would like to listen on Spotify, we have a link in the description below. And if you're there, give us a follow and rate us 5 stars. Love you. Okay, this person said, dude omitted Occam's razor from his story. I don't know what the hell that means. 1, they were away for the weekend. 2, both sexually active sons had visited. Also, I thought the middle son was away at college and he just happened to be home when they were discussing this. How convenient. LOL, I know. The way he happened to be home and close enough to hear the sensitive convo and stroll right in with an explanation feels like a sitcom. It being a kid, daughter from the first story, or others doesn't matter, was my first thought. A woman whose husband has had a vasectomy and not used condoms in a decade would have to be dumb as a box of rocks to put a used one in the bin her husband uses in their shared bedroom. He's all, why would my 16-year-old do that? As if it's just not possible. It's exactly what I would have done at that age, because if I put it in my own bin, parents empty it and go, oh shit, our kid is having sex, or put it in the parents' bin, and the kid who doesn't know about the parents' sex life goes, better. Now they'll just think it's one of their own. Well, I mean, I guess when you're 16, if you think that your parents are still using those, but I feel like even when I was 16, I did not think that my parents would be using those. You know? I just feel like as you get older, like, most people don't do that, right? Most people don't use, especially when you're married for, I mean, I guess actually, if you don't want to accidentally get pregnant at, like, an older age, then I guess you'd be a little bit more safe because you'd be, like, scared about that because the complications could be bad, but I don't know, that's funny. Okay. The next story is titled, Am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend for getting drunk and telling our friends about my fetish? Me, 29 male, and my girlfriend, 35 female, had been together for about 8 months. We have certainly had our ups and downs, but for the most part, it was a good relationship. Most of the downs being when she struggles with her mental health. She was in contention for a major promotion at work. She was very worked up about it. She was very worked up over it. Until she told me someone slipped to her that she was going to get it. She was so excited. I've never seen her so happy. It was great. We agreed to meet our friends at our favorite bar after work the day she was expecting to be officially offered her promotion. When I met her outside the bar, I could instantly tell something was wrong. She said she didn't get the promotion. Someone else did. A woman that she despises. It was really disappointing. I offered for us to just go home, but she insisted that we hang out with our friends, and she wanted to get drunk. And she did. She was barely even talking at first, just drinking. It was obvious to our friends something was wrong. Me and her started arguing at some point. It started over the wings me and her got. She was complaining that she didn't like them and how I didn't care what she wanted and didn't listen to her and all that. Eventually, it struck a nerve, and I told her that she was drunk, acting like an ass, and that she needed to go home. She got so pissed, she told all 5 of our friends about my fetish. I don't want to say exactly what she said, but I have a fart fetish, and she mocked me about it in front of everyone. Yeah, whatever. I like being farted on. It's embarrassing. I'm only mentioning this so people can understand how embarrassed I was. But it is what it is. I'm obviously insecure about it, and now all of my friends know. How am I supposed to hang out with any of them again? The next morning, I broke up with her. She cried, begged, and said she didn't remember anything from last night. It was hard, but I held my ground. Now, I don't know. Maybe I overreacted. Am I the asshole for breaking up with her after she was having a really bad day? A night she can't even remember, apparently? I've never heard of a fart fetish before. Is that dead ass? Like, people genuinely like to be farted on? Because I would say that my boyfriend is offended when he smells my farts. So, honestly, I don't know how I feel about that though. Like, what do you mean? Do you mean like when you guys are hooking up, you want her to like fart on you, bare asshole and all? Because I think that is like honestly a health hazard, to be honest with you, because you don't know what particles are coming out. And there's nothing blocking those particles from coming out. So that's kind of concerning, but to each their own, you know? I would say no judgment, but I'm kind of judging, to be honest. Fart fetish is just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a little crazy to me. But anyways, let's read some comments. You'll find a gassy queen who respects you one day. I'm dead. Someone responded and said, I matched with a guy that was into gassy girls and I have a bowel disease, so I was right up his alley. Now, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, so I gave him a chance at first, but I eventually realized he was never really interested in me. Just my flatulence. Don't know what that means, but I'm assuming it means like farting. I have so much more to offer. I refuse to be someone's personal whoopee cushion. I ended it before he could get a whiff of my brand. I'm not even joking. Dating in your 30s is so effing hard. I'm dead. I myself am a gassy guy. Have been my whole life, and it runs in my family on my dad's side. My grandma was always burping. I think I got a lot more leeway because I'm a guy, and guys are gross. No, seriously. When my boyfriend freaks out about me farting and like him smelling it, which doesn't happen often, by the way, like maybe a couple times a month. I mean, I fart more than that, but like rarely is it something that like smells. Sorry, this is a lot of information. But I literally get so mad at him. I'm like, are you kidding me? You fart like 10 times a day, and the odds of at least one of those smelling are very high. And you almost knock the wind straight out of me. So it's like, why are you acting so offended that you had to smell mine once a month when I literally have to smell yours once every day? Or once every other day. Like, that's so rude. I get so mad. I'm like, wow, you are sexist. Double standards much? Like, he'll get up, he'll make a full scene. He will be screaming. He'll be like, oh my God, I can't I'm like, I'm doing that next time you fart and it smells. I'm making a scene. I'm going to scream and cry because you're being so rude and disrespectful right now. Okay. Someone said, this was the most inspiring thing I've read all day, and I'm not even joking. Men who want farts without caring for the whole fart factory aren't worth a single whiff of our skunky special. I actually cannot read comments like that. Oh my God. Well, I want to see what people are actually saying, though. Like, are people thinking that you should break up with her? I don't know. There were definitely times in my college relationship while I was like really young. So I feel like, I mean, I don't know, but I definitely was not the best all the time, especially when I was drunk. I feel like I would just always start fights and stuff. And yeah, so I don't know. I just would get like so drunk so easily because I was in my really bad like eating disorder phase, and so alcohol just made me get like so drunk so fast. So I would get blacked out. Like I couldn't remember anything, and the next morning I would wake up and my boyfriend would be like pissed at me about something, which I'm not saying this is a healthy thing, okay? But I was in college. I was like 18, 19 years old. And yeah, that's no excuse, but that's just what happens. And as I've said, I should have been single because I could have lived my life and not been like, I don't know. But I wasn't going to stop drinking. I'm in college. Like, I'm not going to stop drinking. So it's like, um, I'm so sorry. I literally don't remember that. But it wasn't me. Like, I literally feel like that's not me. But obviously it was. And yeah, I would be like, I completely understand if you want to break up because I was acting a fool last night. And I get it. If you want to break up, but we already broke up like every other day, so it didn't even really matter. Like breaking up truly lost so much meaning in that relationship because we'd always end up getting back together. So I feel like every time I broke up with him, he wasn't even sweating it at all. And same with me. I'd be like, "Oh, we're just going to get back together anyways." So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, There were definitely times where we got in fights because I was drunk, and oftentimes I would get very mad at him just because I was drunk and I knew that I could bring things up. Which I'm not saying this is healthy, guys. I'm being vulnerable with you right now. But when I was younger, like I was toxic when I was drunk. I was thinking like, oh, I can bring this up now because I'm drunk and I have like, I don't care. I'm confident right now and I can bring something up that you did that pisses me off. So then it would lead us to fighting basically every time that I was drinking. And that's like a terrible thing, obviously. But the relationship was already unhealthy and toxic as it was. So add on that to it, add on a couple more toxic layers, and there you have it. A 4-year long on and off toxic relationship that thankfully ended. Honestly, amicably as well. But yeah, I'm not saying I was innocent in that relationship. Someone said, not the asshole. Bad day or not, getting drunk and turning someone's personal life into an open mic night is a deal breaker. Trust isn't something that you can just Febreze away. Oh my God, guys, stop. Not the asshole, I agree. She didn't really care about the wings. It was about her not getting the promotion, so she felt embarrassed and she wanted someone else to feel as she did. So she outed you with your fetish. I'm truly sorry you have had that happen. Stand your ground. Yeah, that's a big thing. That'd be like if you told your your partner's deepest darkest secret. Like that's pretty messed up. But I don't know. I feel like I don't think that he's the asshole at all, but no pun intended, the asshole. But I do think that maybe the breakup wasn't like fully warranted, unless obviously I don't know their relationship. So he did say that there's been ups and downs. Maybe it's just something that was like a given that needed to happen, and this was just like the last straw of it all. But I feel like if this was like the first time anything crazy like this has happened, I would probably talk it out first. And then if she wasn't like understanding, or if something like this happened again, then that's when I would break up. But obviously to each their own. You can break up, like I've said before, for any reason. If you feel like you want to break up, you have every right to. So yeah. Okay. That's the end of the story time segment. We're going to move on to the advice segment, and we actually have an update. So if you haven't watched like the advice segments before, I'm not really sure which episode this was, but this is an update from a previous advice question that I've answered before, and I'm excited because I am curious to see what happened in this situation. All right. It says, "Hey Jamie, I just wanted to give an update. I had previously sent in an advice question about my husband and I telling our parents that we had eloped. I totally could have been more detailed with my first submission, so I'll fill a little bit more here. We eloped because we're both in our mid-20s. We feel like we could save money better by combining our finances, and we also just felt like it was the best decision for us. We had talked to each of our families at Christmas about the idea, so it would soften the blow when we actually told them later that we had eloped. Both of our families are super conservative Christians and highly unpredictable on how they'll respond to anything, and my husband's dad is very traditional. When we talked to our families at Christmas, my parents acted like it was a great idea, but they are super flippant and frequently go back on their word by gaslighting me and saying I never even talked to them about it. So I was worried they would do the same thing here. When we talked to my husband's parents, his mom said that she was just glad we talked to them before doing it, so it wasn't as big of a surprise, and his dad gave us a long lecture about how he would prefer we have a ceremony, but we had a choice at the end of the day. Fast forward to this past week, we told each of our parents. We called his family on Thursday, and since they're farther away, his siblings were super happy, but his dad told us that our marriage isn't real because we had the government's blessing, but not God's, because we didn't go before God in a church to get married. He ended up kind of giving an ultimatum saying we had to go to a church and have a ceremony by August. His mom didn't say a word, which my husband told me is pretty normal. He never knows what his mom really thinks, and he can't just text her and ask her because his dad reads all of his mom's texts. My husband was super upset that his dad responded this way, of course, and it sucked. We couldn't even get I don't agree with the way you did it, but you already did, so congrats on getting married. If we had the money and time to have a ceremony, we would have. My husband and I have no vacation time until August, and we also don't have money to drop on a wedding. Clothing for a wedding, and food to feed our entire families. It's just not feasible. This past Saturday, we took my parents out to eat and told them over dessert. My parents responded so much better than I expected and said that they were happy for us. Wish they had done it that way, etc. My dad even told me that he was proud of me, and I was trying so hard not to cry because he isn't the dad that says all those things. My husband and I were happy that they took it so well, but I still feel so bad that he couldn't get that response from his parents. We're planning on having an elopement celebration sometime this year so that we can involve our extended families. But I feel like his dad is going to hold this grudge against us for not having a ceremony. But we did what was best for us, and God knows our hearts. I think his dad is just super traditional and wants to justify it by being done his way by saying it's God's way. Anyway, thanks for reading this long update. Have a great day. Well, the thing that stood out to me the most about this is the fact that his mother is being emotionally abused. And obviously, like, I'm sure she's been with this guy for a long time, his dad. I'm sure that they've been together for a long time. But I hate the use of an excuse of saying that someone's super traditional, just excusing their behavior and of them being abusive, like excusing abusive behavior. I'm not saying you're doing that at all, but I know that that's probably something that like his family has learned, or his mom is like, oh, he's just really traditional. And obviously, like, she doesn't feel like she has a say in anything because, first of all, I'm sure she probably walks on eggshells with this guy, and she doesn't want to say anything wrong because one thing wrong and then she's in trouble. And it does sound like a little bit of, I know this term is thrown around a lot, but it does sound like narcissistic abuse, even just from this tiny little submission that I'm reading. So obviously, like, for me, I think that's really sad, and I always wish that these women could easily get out, but I obviously know that that's not the case for everyone, and at the same time, not every woman wants to. So that's the thing that stood out to me the most about that, and like, I I'm really glad that you guys got that reaction from your parents, because obviously, like, you guys want to be celebrated and you want people to be happy for you. And I think elopement is a great idea. Me and my boyfriend talk about that because we also don't want to spend a lot of money. Even if we have a lot of money, like, I just don't, I, in my like values, don't really align with like spending a lot of money on a wedding. Like, I feel like I want to spend money on a wedding, but the way that I'll do it is just going to be so different. Like, I want it to be more of an experience and less of like a chaotic, stressful planning for 2 years, spending 50 grand for me to be like stressed. And, I've talked about how I want to rent out like a big, cute cottage somewhere in like farmland territory and have my family and friends that I love stay there, and then, spend the night together, have dinner the night before, have a little sleepover, wake up in the morning, have breakfast, all that, and get married in the backyard with like DIY cute decorations. That's how I want to do it. Obviously, I'm not yucking anyone's yum. A lot of people love to have huge, crazy, extravagant weddings, which to each their own. Like, no problem with that. As long as that's what you want and you're making that decision for yourself. That's amazing. But I love that you guys eloped. Like, that's awesome, and I think that it should be a lot more normalized, because I feel like when you think of elopement, it's like, oh, you ran away and got married against everyone's will. That's what I used to think elopement was. Like, I genuinely thought, even like 6 years ago, probably when I was like 20, I used to think like, oh, we eloped. I used to think that meant you didn't tell any of your family and you ran away, like runaway bride and groom, and you got married and everyone didn't want you to get married, and like it was crazy. And I don't know why I think that, or I thought that, but yeah, I think I just don't like his dad. Sorry, but his dad seems like a bad guy, and he's using God as an excuse to be a bad guy. Like, how about read the Bible? Well, actually, I don't know. How about treat people like you think Jesus would treat people? Because Jesus would be nice to his wife. And I know that for a fact. So the fact that you're not being nice to your wife shows that maybe you're not a man of God. I don't know. Maybe you're not a good person, because that's what it sounds like to me, because it sounds like you emotionally abuse your wife and she's not able to have her own opinions because she's scared of this man and the way that he will react. But anyways, ignore them. Who cares? I would say, like, cut contact, but I feel like this mom needs her son. Obviously, I'm not telling you, like, cut contact. I'm not, like, saying, I mean, I am saying that, but I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not being like, you guys should just cut contact. But I feel like if I were in that situation and my dad were that way, I would want to cut contact. But then at the same time, I would want to be able to support my mom because clearly she's in a situation where she's being controlled by a man, and it's probably been going on for a long time. But anyways, that's not even the point of this. But I'm really happy that you guys are going to have a nice fun little elopement party and have your family and friends there. That's really fun, and I'm glad you guys got to save money because you should be able to make your own decisions with the way that you want to live your life and the way that you want to get married, and you're an adult. So, people are silly and people can be super silly. Anyways, yeah, love you. That's the end of the advice segment, but I kind of want to chat with you guys just a little bit. I don't know if you guys know this lore or not, but if you do, stay for the lore, and if you don't, I love you and I'll see you later. So Rachel Kirkconnell and Matt James, which I was a heavy fan of The Bachelor for many years, and then I'm trying to think of what season I stopped watching it. And then I started watching again when it was Joey's season. And then I stopped watching it again because I knew that I would like Joey's season because I saw him and I was like, okay, he is my type. He's cute. Let's see how this goes. And then I watched his season and I'm like, wow, he's such a nice guy. And like, I hope that he's actually like that in real life and actually like that nice of a guy because obviously you can only hope. But I watched Matt James's season and I was kind of already had like a outlook on him because I think I thought he was a good guy. I think I actually initially thought that he was a good guy, but that he was probably a little bit of a player because he is friends with Tyler Cameron. And actually, some lore, I have been to Tyler Cameron's house because he actually is from like the town over that I live in, and he lives like 20 minutes from me. I literally, this is so creepy, guys, but I know where he lives. I know. I could drive to his house right now, but obviously I wouldn't do that. But me and my friends, when we would go out a lot at this one bar, we met his brother, one of his brothers, I think his older brother. One of my friends was friends with him, so we were like hanging out with him that night, and then they all invited us back to their place, and we didn't get to meet Tyler, but we were just at his house. And it was really weird because it wasn't like we thought we were gonna go back, play some drinking games and hang out and stuff, but then when we got back there, his little brother was there with a girl and was just acting like so judgy that we were drunk and like acting like he was like so much better than us, and it was just really odd with his little brother acting like he was like the best. He thought that, oh my god, I'm kind of scared. I don't know him obviously, but I met him that one time and like we talked to him a little bit, but like he just seemed like he thought he was better than everyone in the world. And I was like, and then the girl that he was with also kind of like felt like that, like she was judging us. And I feel like if I were somewhere and a bunch of girls came over with, you know, I don't know, the guy I was talking to's brother, I would be like, oh my god, hi. Because I feel like especially when I first meet people, I always want to make them feel as welcome as possible, and I want to be like as bubbly as possible so that they feel super comfortable, and I want to try to be friends with them. And like she was just so standoffish, and the brother was as well. They were just like, oh, you guys drink? That's embarrassing, but I know you fucking drink too, so don't be playing me like that. But yeah, that was just a little bit of lore. Anyways, back to the situation. I watched the Call Her Daddy podcast because Rachel, which we're going to touch on this more, guys, actually. Me and Sam are starting our pop culture podcast. We're filming on Friday. I don't know when we're going to release it. We're probably going to release it. We're going to figure that out, but it's not going to be that long. We're not going to like take a long time to release it, but I'm going to link the channel below, actually, so that if you guys want to subscribe. Sorry, I have so many links in the descriptions. It's actually insane. But if you guys want to subscribe to it, you can. So we're going to talk more in depth about that and like other pop culture things. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So if you guys want to listen to that, give us a listen. Give us a listen. Anyways, I watched the podcast last night and it was just really sad. The way, like, obviously it wasn't like a super dramatic breakup or anything. He did definitely make it more dramatic by posting a crazy post. Like, immediately 3 hours after they broke up, he posted on Instagram a picture of them from, if you're not caught up on this, a picture of them from also they were in Tokyo at the time, from The Bachelor. And it was them the last day when they like didn't get engaged, even though that's like the ultimate goal of The Bachelor, what you're supposed to do. And he posted this long post about like, please God, may you give us strength and give us, our family and friends, the comfort to comfort us and love us during this hard time of giving up our earthly relationship, some bullshit like that. And it was crazy because the way that she was literally getting on a 12-hour flight as he posted that, and she didn't even have time to grieve on her own. Like, what kind of man are you? Like, who are you? And he's just giving bad vibes now. Also, that's why I always say, like, don't even ever compare your relationship to a social media relationship, because God only knows. I always say that I swear to God, the relationships that post the most about each other and that go super in depth about how much they love each other and captions and stuff, which I've seen a few posts like that with them. Obviously, at the off chance that like these people actually are in a happy relationship and they just want to show off their significant other, obviously there are those people, but honestly, like 90% of the time, I swear these people are always the ones that are in very unhealthy, toxic relationships. And it sounds like she's just not, like, it's very fresh. And it just sounded like she wasn't fully come to terms with the fact that he didn't really treat her that well. Like, it was very much masked. Like, I think he tried to mask things in a way that was kind of gaslighty. Like, it just, she always was made to seem like she was in the wrong and like it was her fault for everything, even though it would be things that she would get mad at him about, and he would turn the situation on her and all of that stuff. And I feel like with time she'll definitely realize that it was like not a healthy dynamic at all, and he is not as good of a guy as she thinks that he is, or that she's claiming that he is. And I think she'll finally be like, okay, wait, he actually did, which I'm not saying there wasn't good times, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have good like things about him. I do think that he probably just has a lot of trauma he hasn't worked through with like his upbringing, because he's talked about how his dad left his family, and that's definitely left a huge mark on the way that he handles relationships and things. But obviously that's not an excuse to treat someone like shit and to gaslight and manipulate someone for 4 years, and then break up with them out of the blue. And like, oh my God, the way that I'd be so traumatized, because like I've said, I've been broken up with out of the blue and I was literally traumatized. I swear to God, I'm still traumatized from it. Honestly, I still have bad dreams about it sometimes, and I'm like, wow, this like it was the worst thing I've ever experienced. So yeah, I can only imagine how she feels, and I'm just hoping that she comes to the realization, and hopefully for the love of God she cuts contact with him, because she said that they've talked a couple times since. And like, please, if you're going through a breakup, don't contact your ex for any reason. If you need your stuff back, okay, get all your stuff back. And that's the last time you guys need to communicate, and then never talk again. Seriously, no contact. You're not going to be friends with your ex. You're not going to, no. Goodbye. Especially if it's someone that hurt you and broke up with you out of the blue like that. And that's just like so drama of him to be like, okay, bye. Have fun on your 12-hour flight from Tokyo to the USA, just overthinking and overanalyzing every aspect of your relationship for the past 4 years. Like, that's just maniacal, which I've used that word 100 times in this episode, but that's my word of the day right now. So that is maniacal. He's a maniac for that. So yeah, that's like my small take on it, and I just wanted to get that out there because I watched that podcast last night and I was just not super shook, because I kind of could catch a vibe. Can you not lick her asshole in the middle of my chat? Thank you. Yeah, I could kind of catch a vibe with him, but to be honest, I kind of just assume most men are players and fuckboys, so sorry. But, anyways, that's all I really had to talk about. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah. Also, my Patreon is linked below if you want to become a member. I'm about to film a Patreon episode. It's going to be I don't even know. I have a couple stories, but I don't remember what they're about, but some things that just I'm not allowed to post on YouTube. Okay, anyways, love you. Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.